December 12th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Hyde? Here. Mr. Heiss?
Here.
Mr. Lohman?
Here. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting held November 14th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I have one correction. Under old business where I had work on the old town hall, you have is completed. It will be completed because it's not completed yet. So other than that, I didn't have any corrections. Move that the minutes be approved as correct. Oh.
Your mic.
I second.
Roll call.
Hyde?
Yes.
Heiss?
Yes.
Lohman?
Yes. Approval to pay the bills as have been presented over the past month.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Hyde?
Yes.
Heiss?
Yes.
Lohman?
Yes. Correspondence, Dennis.
Okay, I contacted Rosemar Roofing about the gutters, and they said that that we never received a bill from them. So she emailed me a bill, which I gave to the fiscal officer's office to have paid. And then also we selected the color on the gutters, and they should be installed before the end of the year. So the gutters will be green, and it pretty much matched the color that's there. While we're on that,
And that was for which building?
the old town hall, and then Chuck contacted Historical Society and asked them what color they would like the building to be painted, because it's going to be needing a paint job in the next year or two. And they got back and said that they would like the colors to remain the same. So I contacted Brian Parnell about the old town hall, doing the structural work around the bottom, sealing that up and then stabilizing it. And they had a few health issues in his workforce, but he thought he could get it done yet this year. So that should be happening.
And who was that?
Brian Parnell, P-A-R-N-E-L-L. And then I talked to Todd Gadberry today about the Fort Scott Road project, and they will be submitting the bids for that. After the first of the year, it's going to be rolled into all of their road projects. All we have to do is pay the bill. They'll handle the billing or the bidding and everything, which before I was understood that we would have to open up our own bids and accept them. But he said they would do the whole thing, and they will be sending us paperwork for that contract work in the next week or two. So we should be getting something from them. Met with Bob May and signed the contract with Abercrombie and Associates to do the site plan for the shelter project. So Bob thought that he would be getting the bids out after the first of the year on that. So that's going along. And then while I had Bob out here, we went over and looked at the fire department, and he walked through the building, and it was his opinion that we'd be better off constructing a whole new building and not redo the old structure, adding on to it. So he was going to contact one of his contractors to try to give us a rough estimate for a 40 by 48 three-bay building, and that would house all the equipment the fire department didn't use on an emergency run. And so I haven't received that yet. I received a letter from Tony Beck about stepping down off the Zoning Appeals Board due to family matters. And then within 5 or 6 days, I received a letter from Brian Lewis and he's applying for Tony Beck's position, so I'm assuming that's you out there, so he's going to give us a presentation on himself later on. Received an invite. I'm sure all the rest of the trustees received an invite to the Energy Alliance Open House for December the 16th. I will not be able to attend. Received solicitation for flock cameras from Ryan Ellswick. Evidently, some of the townships and municipalities around are looking at putting up flock cameras in order to take pictures on cars and stuff to track felonious mischief in the area.
What camera?
They call them flock, F-L-O-C-K. Flock cameras. Way I understand it is you just put up cameras a little bit everywhere, and they record who's going up and down the roads, and if something happens, you got footage of what's going by, and you can kind of track it. At least that's the way I understood it.
I've seen them many times.
Huh?
I've used them many times
Okay.
in my prosecutions.
All right. And then Hamilton
Do
County.
they read license plates?
Maybe we don't want them then.
They can be useful. Do they read license plates?
Oh, I guess it depends on how you set them up. If they take a picture of the car going.
I can tell you, so they make general surveillance cameras, and then they also make them to where they specifically are designed to actually read license plates of moving cars.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they will alert law enforcement anytime a reported stolen car or a plate associated with a stolen car is in the area. Then they know that there's evidence of like an active felony running around in your area. Then they just go by description of the car. Then they can make the stop.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so like every stolen car in the region finds its way to Beekman and Moosewood in Cumminsville.
Yeah.
And so there's license plate readers all over the place.
Okay. And then Hamilton County Public Health has a meeting December the 12th, which is today at 4 o'clock, which.
Mr. Hyde, I'm going to have to check in with you maybe after the meeting. That's a lot of correspondence. I'm out of space.
Okay, and I'm out. I'm done.
Okay.
I had a lot of correspondence.
Yeah.
Oh, not done yet. Jeff Aludo from the Hamilton County Administrator talked to me today, and they are going to try to meet with us after the first of the year. They are starting to get numbers together on their sheriff patrol out here, and they're breaking down these 3 townships out here, Harrison, Whitewater, and Crosby, and coming up with a separate set of figures than the other townships that are east of us, because we don't have the population and the tax base. And so they're going to be working a new set of numbers, something that they think that we can afford, and then work our way up over a period of years as we get more development to get us online totally. So he acted like after the first of the year, he will be contacting us with what program they come up with. And then going back to Todd Gadberry on the Fort Scott project, they pretty much brought that project in on the resurfacing at about $165,000. So that was good news. That way we can, when we have our planning meeting, we got a figure that we can plug in. So now I'm done.
Are they, are they contacting the other 2 townships too? Are they working with them?
All 3 of us will be in a meeting together when they come up with a program. So I guess I'm the contact person in this township. Tom Loseykamp's the contact in Harrison Township. And I forget the guy that's person that's got the junkyard down here in Miami Town.
Oh, Shibley.
Shibley is the contact for Whitewater Township. So
Okay.
they'll be getting a hold of the 3 of us, and then we'll be getting together, whether it's all the township trustees or just us 3. But anyway, something will be happening after the first of the year.
Can I make one comment on that, since it's fiscal related? I would urge the trustees to keep in mind that the trustees ultimately make the decision about what Crosby Township's going to do for Crosby Township, not the sheriff. So,
Yeah.
Because what I'm getting at is, the sheriff wants to be able to, determine this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. And they want all of those three townships in the fold. And what I would be on guard against is them establishing a patrol that generally covers these three townships that we're talking about, because you're talking about a land area that stretches basically from Fort Scott at the very point of the township, wrapping all the way around the northwestern part of the corner of the county and all the way down almost to like E-Town.
That'd be going all the
And
way
so-
to the Ohio River.
And so if you have that situation, if you have something happen where you want your sheriff that you're paying for nearby, and it just so happens that because of how they operate, those guys are in E-Town, you're better off calling them from Hamilton Avenue at the main sheriff's station, because they're going to be so far away.
Yeah.
So, they just seem, at the county level, they seem to lump our areas into the three western townships. That's how they see us. Whereas we see it as we're Crosby Township.
Right.
Mr. Hyab, I have a question. On the Fort Scott, you said it's $165,000. Does that include their inspection and administrative fees?
To my knowledge, that was what they're bidding out, the cost that they're bidding out.
But
So
do we have to pay the county engineer for inspection?
that was not made aware. I was
Okay.
not made aware of that.
Okay, I didn't
We
know.
will be getting a contract that we will sign that specifies their services.
Okay,
And so once we get that contract, we'll know more. But he came up with that figure as a round figure that we could,
That's fine.
plan on.
that's fine.
So
You're good?
I'm done.
Okay, so I got a few things. There was a non-working fire hydrant at 9200 Strimple Road, and then which was Cincinnati Waterworks, which right up at the corner of Mount Hope and Strimple, which is across from the Baptist Church and School. And I contacted city, and they said that we're responsible for fire hydrant maintenance, so I emailed Chief Davis, and he said they took care of it. And I noticed the plastic bag wasn't on it anymore, so I was going to ask him tonight, but hopefully it's working again. I did read that Commissioner Elisa Reese is proposing a 30% property tax rebate to fulfill the 1996 stadium 0.5% sales tax increase. That was supposed to have been voted on, I think, today, but I didn't hear what happened with
I think
it.
it got watered down to like 10%.
Okay. There's a West JAD meeting is Thursday, January 5th, and this year we need another person from Crosby Township. The last time it was Gwen Lawhorn, and I did ask her, and she said she would do it again, so unless anybody has any objections, I will tell her that she could do it. And then I guess I will do it again if that's okay. And then I put in everybody's mailbox. We have to vote on this. There's 3 people we're supposed to vote on for the OT.
MRA.
Yeah. My recommendation was the first 2, the Philip Cox and the Joyce, because they've been on it already. The other guy was kind of new, but if anybody thinks anything different, did
I
you think
was
different?
on board with the first one, but then I went with the third one just to put somebody new on. he had some financial experience
Oh, the
in
third
his
one.
resume, so, I thought maybe put a new person on. So that would, my recommendation. What did you come up with, Chuck?
I went with his first two like he did.
Okay.
So, would be Cox
Should
and
we
Martin.
do that then?
I make a
Okay.
motion that we vote for Cox and Martin to be on the board of directors.
Well, second.
Roll call.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heiss,
Yes.
Lohman.
Yes. So I'll,
And what were the names of the people?
it's, here, I'll just give you the thing. You can, the first two on there.
You're going to have to sign it anyway.
He does, oh.
Yeah. I think, did they give you an envelope?
I don't think they gave me an envelope, but
I thought-
I'll do it.
The interesting thing is there's no signature line on here.
I guess there isn't. You just fill out the township.
Yeah.
and-
Get the fill out.
It just
They want to make sure people on double vote. So,
I'll fill it out right now. Stand by.
And then this Whitewater Shaker Group is always looking for members, and they're also raising money for the milk house to redo that. I know they have a website and everything, so if anybody wants to give to that, they can. And you got a couple of the things I said, and we got an exciting letter from Duke that they're reducing one of our rates by 11 cents. So, and that's all I have. Chuck?
are you gonna mail that in or?
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Okay. Basically you could cover the same thing I have, except not a master dentist, but, I don't have anything.
That's
new.
good because I needed your space to write down all of the
Yeah,
correspondence.
I got it covered me, so,
Okay, so you're good.
yes.
All right, guest, Lieutenant Stuckey.
So for November, we had 109 calls for service. We had 7 criminal reports, 6 non-criminal reports. 3 of the cases were assigned to our detectives, none were closed, and we had 7 auto accidents and no DUI/OVI arrests for the month. That's all I got. Anything? Questions? Nope. Thank you.
No questions? Thank you.
Is Crosby Township fairly quiet compared to Harrison and Whitewater? How would you rate Crosby Township?
It is quiet. I mean,
Okay,
it's,
that's what I like to know. We like it quiet.
I got one thing. I did try to call a traffic engineer. I left a message for him. He called me twice. He never did call me back about Oxford Road and New Haven Road.
There was an email about that. Did you get the email?
I got the email, but I called him because I had a couple of questions about it, and he never did call me back. So
he never has?
I called last week, and I called again today. So.
Okay, I'll send him an
He,
email.
he answered a question, but you didn't answer the question you gave him.
Okay,
So the question was, before New Haven was resurfaced, the lady in the house at that corner said there was a crosswalk there. And then when we paved the road, they didn't put the crosswalk back.
so you
What
want,
he was saying is how could get a new crosswalk put in by putting on a curb and
right,
and sidewalk and all that. That wasn't your question.
okay, so you want me to re-ask the question if there was ever a crosswalk there?
Yeah,
I'll say,
and
okay.
I left that on his answering machine twice and never got back. I don't know. He might be on vacation. It's the
Okay,
time of year.
we'll both try.
So, thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. Tim Zellick from Hamilton County Parks was supposed to be here tonight, but he's under the weather, so hopefully we'll have him here next month. And then Brian Lewis.
I Good evening. For those of you who have not met me, I'm Byron Lewis. I'm a resident of Fort Scott.
And sir, I just wanted to make sure I have this right, because I was told to put you on the agenda, but your name is Byron, B-Y-R-O-N, is that right?
Yep, B-Y-R-O-N.
And what's your address?
6941 Chapel.
Is that Lane?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I was notified by Tony Beck that he was going to be stepping down from the Board of Zoning Appeals, and we had served together on the Fort Scott Community Association Board. So he asked if I would consider applying to take his spot on that board, and that's definitely something that I was interested in. So I reached out to Mr. Hyob, and as he mentioned, and I provided my resume to him. I'm not sure if he shared it with everyone.
I did not copy that off.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
So my background is primarily in healthcare, but like I mentioned, I have served on the board of the Fort Scott Community Association for several years. I have been a Crosby Township resident for the second time since 2014. I lived here from 2002 to 2004 as well, but moved to Fort Scott in 2014. So I do have a pretty good knowledge of the township. I've been here a while, so just kind of the lay of the land. So just wanted to offer my time to serve on that board, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
And can I clarify, are we talking about, which board are we talking
Zoning
about?
Appeals Board.
Okay, BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals.
Crosby Township.
Right, okay. Just making sure I got it right.
Yeah.
Because you've been on the Fort Scott Association Board for a long time, right?
Actually, I left that board 2 years ago,
Mhm.
but like I said, my background's in healthcare, and COVID was kicking up, and so I got a little busy. I'm no longer on the board, but I served for, I believe, 4 years.
So you think you'll have the time available when board meetings will be announced?
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons I was interested in applying, is as things kind of level off, I'm looking to get back into some sort of community service in that regard.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot of questions. I mean, we always enjoy having somebody step up and fill a position without us beating the bushes so hard. So I'm glad you called and showed interest. And, you know.
Okay. Well, thank
Is that
you.
something we have to vote on, or?
Yeah, I suppose we need to vote him in. So I move that we accept Brian Lewis into the Board of Zoning Appeals to replace Tony Beck.
I second it.
Roll call.
Hi,
Yes,
Heis,
Yes.
Lohman.
Yes.
welcome to the board.
Another guest? Just go up to the microphone, say who you are.
Hello, my name is Bob Burwinkle. We live here on New Haven Road. It's been brought to our attention that there was a complaint against Welch Sand and Gravel for noise and dust for hauling gravel off our farm. And we just want to kind of say that, like, I mean, we got the permit. We've been doing this a long time. It's a seasonal dig. Like, usually it's like 3 months or so every other year is kind of what it's been typically. You guys approved the permit in '04, and we finally started digging, I think, in '09. And nothing's really changed. I'm kind of doing the same thing. Welch been doing all the digging. They do a good job maintaining the driveways, just working during the normal hours, trying to water the driveway when it does get dusty. But it is still big trucks going in and out, and there is some noise. And I mean, I live 30 yards from where they're filling the trucks. I mean, I know it's a little bit noisy, but it's not that bad. The dust, I mean, we had like late summer this year, we had a whole month of no rain at all, and it's going to happen. The only thing that's really changed around here is the neighbors, and it's just kind of, as soon as we got new neighbors, we started to get complaint. So I think it's something that we can work through and just, I don't see it being as big a problem as I think what they made it out to be.
Where was the complaint made to?
Welch Sand and Gravel, I believe, or was it?
Crosby County Trustees first,
Okay,
is what he told me.
Right.
And then they sent the
We
notice.
never heard about it, did we?
It went through zoning.
Oh.
Good.
Rick Espel had the letter, original letter. They sent the letter to him. And then I first found out about it tonight. And the guy just put up a new building and he's getting dust on his new building. So you could see,
Right.
could be upset, but it's seasonal. And, you know, about the only thing you could do to, I guess it's bare dirt that the driveway's on.
it's gravel, but like an
Is it gravelled so that it's not as dusty as it could be if it was just
dirt,
compacted dirt?
right?
So it's
And-
seasonal, you're just gonna have to work with him and try to keep it as dust-free as you can when you guys are letting gravel out of there. That's about all you can say, I mean.
Right. I mean, with all the new construction right there next to where we are.
Yeah, I
there's
went
nothing but
down there
trucks and
numerous
mud and-
times and there's not
Yeah.
hardly any dirt on the road,
Right,
so.
is it at?
I mean, yeah, Welch even, they
Where is it
paved.
exactly? Is this at?
This is the new construction in that light industrial on New Haven,
Yeah.
right as you're going into New Baltimore.
Right there in the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the trucks go in and out on that curve. Yeah, Welch even, the second year they did it, because they didn't like the way the results were, they ended up paving like 20 or so yards into the driveway to try to keep tracking things on the road and keep
Right.
things a little cleaner and all that stuff. And
So,
you know,
you know, you're just gonna have, when it turns dry, when they're just gonna have to keep an eye on it and
Right.
try to keep your neighbor happy.
for sure.
You can put tree sap on it, because the golf course uses that, I know, that
Oh, yeah?
they put it on gravel and it keeps dust down in the summer. There's places that sell it.
Yeah, maybe we'll look into that.
You only have to do it like once a year.
Yeah.
Like, do it when you're gonna start, gets
Right.
dry or something, but
Yeah,
if you need to find out, let me know, because I can talk to Ed Mingus, because
okay.
they get it every year.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know when Rumpy was there, they used to have a street cleaner.
Oh, was that Rumpke
All
that
the
did that?
time.
Yeah,
No,
street
Rumpke.
cleaning it.
They're
Well,
not
they were
done
putting
now,
lots of stuff on the road.
Yeah. So,
That was for a whole nother reason. I can't tell you how many screws I picked up in my tires living down the street from that place,
probably. So,
and how little I've had in my tires since it closed.
they're doing a real good job of making it real nice and grass and whatever. So I think everybody kind of happy.
Anybody else? You're all together.
We're going all the way up on the first main entrance, all the way up to Bugle Way, which was the first part that was put in, phase one. And then the first road to the right by the swimming pool, that road is crumbling as you go down over the bank, and we're gonna do it all the way down to the circle. And I drove the rest of the roads up there, pretty much everything that was done in the first phase. We're gonna look into either resurfacing or putting down some kind of a treatment to seal it up so it doesn't keep falling apart. And Harry's gonna look into that. And so we are trying to adjust, but that first is pretty rough. And I tried to get, last year I put in for a grant from the state highway department, and it didn't, there was too many applications and not enough money, and it didn't rate that high, and so we didn't get any financial help. So we're going on our own this time, but we're gonna keep working at it, because everything in the first phase is the worst pavement. So,
All right. Reports, Alan.
No report.
Maintenance, Harry.
I really don't have anything either.
You're busy spreading salt, aren't you?
Bring up about the alarm system, but you want to do that?
yeah, we can do that. It's under maintenance. I didn't get my copy of my letter. I text or I emailed the guy that is our sales rep for Johnson Control, and Brian, you make a copy of that and give it to everybody?
I did it back in the office, I didn't make a copy.
Yeah, well, give everybody, if you could get everybody a copy, I'd appreciate it. But I pretty much said that over the years, we have never been satisfied with the level of performance of this unit. And then Harry told them to get it fixed, I guess, last month, and then they put a whole new board in. And I read the bill, and it said that because they flipped the circuit breaker on and didn't disengage the batteries, it fried some of the circuitry because of a power surge. Well, I don't think anybody ever told them you had to disconnect the batteries before you flip the circuit to reset it. And so I stated that part of it was part of our blame, but it never did work in the first place. And I felt that we needed some adjustment to this last bill in order to make things right, and I haven't heard anything back yet. So that's where that stands. I wouldn't pay the bill until I hear from them or hear from somebody.
Yeah, I've as it comes to Johnson Controls, especially when I saw what we were getting from bills from them, that's exactly what I told Brian. We, hold off on that for now because
And I'd almost.
This is just typical from that. I mean, if they send an invoice that we have some question about, or maybe something we want to wait for a meeting, ask the trustee about, or something like that. I mean, if they don't hear from us within like 6 or 7 days, like from invoice, emails, calls.
Oh, really?
I mean, the fact that you didn't get a call back, that's ridiculous. That is not how they operate. At all.
Yeah, Brendan never got calls back either.
It's ridiculous.
So I would almost entertain having another company come in and give us a bid.
Well,
Because we don't have any, we got smoke, but we don't have any burglary.
Well, you know how I feel. I would love that. I don't know who that might be. I don't know anything about that, but I know that when now then, the other question is, what to do with that bill, that you already have, that you're sitting on from that equipment. But I mean, when you're talking long term.
well, we have a 5-year contract with them, and we'd have to pay 90% if we get out of it,
Of course.
which we started in 19, so that's through 24 October. So then that's something you got to think about too. I did talk to somebody from Harrison Township and Morgan Township. And the Harrison, all they have in their center is just a fire alarm that would just make a noise if there's a fire in there. And then Morgan Township, in their historical building, they have a fire and smoke. And he said it was a lot cheaper. He was going to get me more information from that. So maybe we'll have a contact there.
And nobody's got a burglar alarm. I guess
All
there's
Harrison
nothing in
has is just a alarm that goes off in the building if there's
Yeah.
a fire, so people get out.
Huh.
What, Harry?
We had a security system here originally on the doors and everything. I was over here every night.
Well, we have cameras, so if someone did break in, we could look at the cameras and at least try to identify.
But, everybody who come in would set it off.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah, that's the problem with that.
Then I'd be over here, it happened, and I finally told myself, I had enough of that,
Yeah.
You gotta get something, so they just disconnected it back then.
Is
It was
that what
like
happened?
that's years ago before these folks, I think, right, Harry? You had them switch it out.
Yeah.
That's been not a part of this plan.
Right. Yeah, we're looking at it. I'll try to get more information.
Yeah.
Because when I told him what we were paying, he said, well, you guys like to spend money. But, so it's much cheaper. So we'll definitely, but this 5-year contract's an issue. Because they said we'd have to pay 90% if we try to get out of the contract.
Well, after 5 years, we'll get out of
And
it.
then next year.
Whenever it's
Or 24.
advantageous. But, yeah, we need to look into
Yeah, so we'll
Plan
definitely
B.
keep on that.
Yeah. I also got a name. I used to be the president of a church, and we had a facility file and broke alarm. And I got a name of a company that I can give that to you, but we had no problem. The only time is sometimes we have a false alarm, but once the burglar alarms go off by accident, you got within a cell phone call, you can call and give them like a code, and they say a false alarm. So,
Yeah.
Right.
and there's fire alarms that go off, and but we could have some break-in.
I
The
think
alarm
we
did
need
do
to
the
get
job.
somebody out
So.
here from that company and talk to them.
Well,
It hasn't
we've been
worked
trying to.
half the time. It was off 3 months because the panel was bad.
Yeah.
And then they called me and I come over Saturday and let them in that Saturday and that. And then they said they were gonna change the whole panel. I didn't know anything about it. I just told them to fix
Well, you told them to fix it, and that's what they did.
$7,000 worth.
I know, that's why,
I can email. We'll see if we can get him here in January.
okay.
And that right there,
You need to
that's
have some-
why obviously I didn't go paying that bill, because I'm not going to pay a bill like that without the trustees telling me to, or the trustees telling me to in what amount, because that may even need to be a decision that you make based upon legal counsel.
Right.
I mean, yeah, sure. You know, you got the maintenance supervisor saying fix it, but under what kind of understanding that you're putting in all this new equipment to all the, it reeks of a money making racket.
Even
So-
what we're paying every year, just for the service.
Right.
That doesn't include any kind of maintenance of equipment. You think that would be included in it or something?
I know, it's a money-making
Yeah.
program for them.
So do you have anything else, Harry? Or?
They just put the boards in there. There's a big, that controls everything. They put 3 or 4 in there so far.
Well, just remember all that for when they come here.
Yeah. They change it out and it still don't work. So it's just,
And then we have to pay to get new ones put in. Yeah, there should be some kind of a warranty on that, but probably not. Did you have anything else?
no, that's all.
Just waiting for it to snow.
They're ready.
But I think the serious system, there will be a monitor fee. I think our company do charge so much a month or a quarter.
Yeah. So fire, do you want me to read it, or is Chief
Go
Davis
ahead, I
isn't-
don't have it in front of me yet.
Okay. So Chief Davis isn't here tonight, so I'll read his report. November run totals, 43 EMS, 30 fire, so 73 total for November. Medic 28's vehicle battery has to be replaced due to a bad cell. No problems with the medic unit after replacing the battery. Some of the equipment for the new engine has been delivered. The new engine should be completed and delivered in the fall of '23. I will keep you posted as the date gets closer on when the engine will be delivered. And then the monthly report, mutual aid summary for fire. Ross Township, 1 received, Harrison, 10 given, Whitewater, 3 given, Whitewater, 2 received, Ross Township, 1 given, Morgan Township, 1 given, Coleraine, 1 received, then EMS, Harrison, 6 given, Ross, 2 given, Whitewater, 1 given, Whitewater, 2 received. So that's all I got. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna take and get a hold of him and see how the business with the firehouse up there in New Baltimore is going, getting rid of that equipment. Because I want that rectified sooner than later. I was trying to get it done by the first of the year, but then we found out we had to auction or put the stuff on the public
Yeah.
auction site so that we got bids on it. We just couldn't dispose of it, so I'm gonna get a hold of him and see how that's going. Other than that, that'd be about the only thing I had to ask of him.
So is one of the reasons they want another bay on the firehouse is because of the new fire engine?
When the new fire engine comes in, there is no room over there for anything.
Or are they gonna get rid of the old one?
No, we're gonna keep the old one
Why?
because you have, right now, when our current fire engine has to go in for maintenance, we have no fire engine. They have to borrow one from somebody else's company, and it's their reserve. And so that fire engine is in good enough repair or in good enough shape that it'll make the other engine last longer. And then if there's an accident, instead of taking your new engine down there to divert traffic, you take the old engine down there. And so if somebody hits it, you don't have your new engine laid up.
So that originally we weren't going to keep it, but
Well,
I mean, they can't
you know,
keep it
if we're
somewhere
strapped for cash, but
I
there's
know it's
no
not
value.
I know there's
in
not
the old
worth
engine.
anything, but if we're going to build a whole building just for that,
Well, there's other things. The building they currently have is short on bedroom space for the staff we have there. They need more room for bedrooms. There's no room for document storage. And so they would like to have a larger room for document storage, and they need another office. So the plan that when I went over there and went through with Bob May is that if we built a new building and vacated some of the stuff out of there, that would free up enough room where they could put in the bedrooms they needed and the office they needed, and we wouldn't have to expand that building. Because if we expand the current building, there's certain departments in Hamilton County that aren't going to like that. And so,
because did the maintenance department used to keep stuff over there?
that used to be part of the maintenance building, yeah.
I thought when the new maintenance building was built and they took stuff out of there, they said then that they had plenty of room there. That was only 2 years ago. Now all of a sudden they have no room.
Well, since then, they bought that trailer with
Yeah. Well, that was
all-terrain vehicle on it,
Yeah,
and
that-
so that's taken up room, and the pickup that pulls it. If we build this building, that should take care of us for years. Because also being a 3-bay, I was just thinking 2 overhead doors, and then the third bay to have a walk-in door, and they could move their weight room and exercise equipment out there, because we would have it heated 50, 55 degrees, because you're going to have equipment in there that can't freeze because everything's got water in it. And but I want to see what kind of price that Bob's connection comes up with. I thought maybe a pole barn structure be cheaper, but Bob frowned on that because it can burn. Well, anything can burn in a steel structure too. So, but the steel structure wouldn't burn down all the way, but it would be unsafe to rebuild on anyway because of heat tempered. So this is all just in the planning stages, you know, just to give you a heads up. I walked through with the fire chief, and it is claustrophobic in there where these guys are staying. There is no doubt about it. And we got to do something, otherwise we're going to run into problems down the road anyway. I know we don't like building buildings, but, you know, putting an addition onto the current building would be more expensive than building a standalone building. So, so that's where that at. Once, hopefully we'll have something for the planning meeting that Bob can give me on what kind of a price we're looking at, so we can see what we're looking at down the road.
all right. And community, Brenda.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you some December highlights. Senior Club had a great Christmas luncheon here on December 6th. There were over 40 folks in attendance, and we had a very good, it was like a turkey dinner really than luncheon, from Monk's Catering here in Harrison. And Jolene Winter came out from the Brader Winter Funeral Home, and she gave us all these beautiful poinsettias. And this was her 10th year to do that. It was pretty sweet and awesome of her. She's a good community person. And then lastly, that day we had 2 Peas in a Pod, and they are musicians from the Cincinnati area that we got through the grant that I had written earlier for the creative arts. So that was a great time for them. And then this last weekend, a large group of seniors went to Illinois. We stayed overnight, and we went to a buffet dinner theater the evening that we went. It was a presentation called The Christmas Show at the Beef House, and it's really neat to see the folks just enjoy each other. Their friendships are building. One of the people that was on the trip that I happened to be riding in a car with said, wow, we've really got a neat group of seniors. It's like they're supportive of each other, and it's really just building a real friendship family. So that's cool. I'm happy about that. We're coming into home stretch for the Crosby Children's Christmas Benefit. This is the week that it all happens. It's called the Kringle Chest for those of you that aren't familiar, but we've been working with Crosby School now. We received a list of 45 children. It was their Christmas list we got. They represent 13 families in our community who could use some extra help for Santa. We had a great response from the community and as far as businesses and friends who donated the funds needed for the largest shopping volunteer team we've ever had here. I was so happy. 30 shoppers this year for 45 kids. I mean, there was a time when, one shopper might have to do 4 or 5 kids, and that's like taking on a whole, complete Christmas bundle of work. And so I was so happy that they could just enjoy it, and I've gotten a lot of positive responses. A lot of teachers in our district, different people who work with kids, they just were like, thank you so much, Crosby, for doing this. And our family had so much fun shopping together and picking out the gifts. So that's all been pretty amazing. We do have local churches involved as well. By January meeting, I'll be able to list and get a complete thank you together for all of those folks. But the big family wrapping party, which means that all 45 kids who get all the gifts will be spread out on tables all over this room, and people from the community will come and wrap. And one of the churches already has, I think 15, they told me, volunteers that are coming to wrap along with other community folks. So it's a big party evening with lots of Christmas goodies and Christmas music, and we just have fun and bring Crosby together as a township just to support one another. It's this Friday night at 7 p.m. And lastly, I'm going to tell you a Christmas miracle. This is my personal family miracle. My daughter had a major surgery about 5 weeks ago at the Cleveland Clinic, and she's it's major, and she's recuperating, but still, working with that. And suddenly, at the end of the week, she had, at the site of her incisions and stuff, it didn't feel right, it didn't look right, and it just deteriorated quickly. So she went to Christ Hospital, even though her surgery was in Cleveland, and they took some pictures. I looked at it. They said, we don't think we can touch this. We're going to pack it the best we can, and do a big wrap-up of it all so that it's all stays put, and they're bandaging. And you need to get to Cleveland right away, because they contacted Cleveland. They looked at the pictures. They said, yeah, you need to come back and check in. So that's by the way, that came to us Friday evening when we were with all the seniors in Illinois. So the seniors began to pray, and we prayed, and okay, God, you gotta have to help us. And Kelly was here by herself at the time, so we had to come home. At any rate, we did a quick turnaround and went with her to Cleveland in the last day or so. And when they took the bandages off to begin to decide what to do, it was diagnosed as a level 3 out of 4 of a pressure wound that had what they called, the word they use is craters, but it was just a very difficult and dark colored tissue everywhere around this incision site. So it was obvious it was a big problem. And but anyway, when they took it off, the tissue and her whole skin was normal. And it was just like less than maybe 48 hours after it was bandaged, just to get her up there. It was all normal. And even today, this morning in her appointment in Cleveland, they said even new skin was actually growing around it. They were going to have to do skin graft and surgery to even get to that. So to me, it was a complete thank you, God, because it was answered prayer. And they were amazed. They took pictures in Cleveland of what they had received. They had the Christ Hospital ones here, and they said, let's take these, because this is a God thing. They couldn't explain it either, but she's still, healing, still going through that, but that was immediately addressed by our Father in heaven. Thank you for my Christmas miracle and my family.
Good.
So that's really cool. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for Brenda? Zoning, Rick?
Skip the fiscal officer.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're wanting to get out of here early. Matt?
For once, I've got a pretty quick one. So December coming up is a pretty huge month for us. Obviously, it's the end of the year financials, and also preparing for the organizational meeting. We're gonna do our best to have the projected budget, down to each account code as locked in as possible for the next year. We do intend still to have a system set up where each division of the township will be able to we'll have a form, and for every expenditure they'll be able to tell us, here, pay this bill, and this is where we want the money to come out of, from the budget. So that they'll be in control of it, instead of us kind of playing a guessing game in the fiscal officer's office. Your fiscal officer's report is incomplete compared to most months. We have not been able to complete the bank reconciliation yet for November. The reason for that is because we've made the transition over to our payroll service, Paylocity. I will say, as I sit here, I'm disappointed so far, but I'm kind of reserving judgment. The reason why the trustees decided to engage with Paylocity is because of the fact that they had previously provided payroll services for Whitewater Township. I had visited Whitewater Township at this point about 2 years ago when they were engaged with them, and my understanding was that they were going to have it so that the issues we're dealing with now are already figured out, and it kind of seems like Brian and I are dealing with this as if we're a brand new customer they've never seen before. Long story short, the main issue is when we did our own payroll, we were doing it through our accounting software. So the accounting software already knew this money is going to this person and these monies are being withheld, and then they're sitting there ready to be paid, to whatever place that withholding needs to go to. So right now, there's no problem with the checks going out and the people getting paid, or them getting the money from our bank account and distributing those. And I assume there's not going to be a problem with, check stubs, W-2s, and stuff like that. The issue is coming back and having our accounting software efficiently understanding what just got paid out of the bank account, which obviously the bank account's a totally separate thing from our accounting software. So, when we would do a bank reconciliation before, it was very, very easy and efficient to see approximately $20,000 item electronically leaving our bank account, and that was one lump pay period where all of our employees got paid, and it would match up to the cent. No big deal. That's not happening right now. So we are the visiting clerk that we had used when we cleaned everything up from previous years. We've reached out to him. He's been out of town and off, but in the coming week and a half, we're going to be talking with Tony and talking about how UAN efficiently gets that information from the payroll service and gets into our system so that we can do what we need to do. If there's no good answer to that, I'll come to the trustees and say, let's pull the plug and let's just go back to what we were doing. I don't have any problem doing that. And quite frankly, the amount even that we pay for this big payroll service is even less than the board that Johnson Controls just put in. I mean, it's not a huge line item, and I would hate to do that. I would consider it. It seems wasteful, but at the same time, if it's going to cause, so many more hours for Brian just to work on figuring this out and then doing it. I mean, it's supposed to make things here more efficient,
Right.
not less efficient. So I'll continue to report to the trustees on that and how that's going. But,
Are the employees getting their pay stubs now?
well, they're getting their paychecks, and the idea is that they have the ability to log on and view them and print them themselves.
Oh, okay.
Is that accurate, Brian? I mean, that's your understanding, right?
I know one person in the fire department, I'm gonna have them, I'm gonna reach out to the chief, because I believe one person's downloaded the app and all that. So he should be able to get all the firefighters on, since he's already done it,
Okay.
so.
Because I know that was an issue.
Yeah, I received an email and reached out to him, and I haven't heard any more, so I would assume that he's being able to
Now, that
accomplish that.
certain individual would let you know,
Yep. I would know if it didn't happen.
right?
That's all I've got, unless any of you gentlemen have any questions for me.
The only thing I have is we need to assign somebody or a couple somebodies to the EMT account so that we're not bleeding all of our money out of the fire account to pay personnel.
Yeah, that's a
I think going into the first of the year, be a good time to figure out how you want to handle that so that account starts to get some pressure on it, so it's just not sitting there and we start running out of money out of our fire account.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. When it was in this past year, when I started looking at, how do we not bleed out of the fire account and at least stay level, recognizing we had this account that we virtually didn't use. And one conclusion we came to, a big one, was, and I talked to Brian about this, when all of the stuff that when you see bills that come from, Brian,
Boundtree.
from Boundtree. You'll see Boundtree all the time
Yeah,
on the checks,
right.
okay? So whenever you see something from Boundtree, that should, this year and definitely next year, that should come out of that EMT fund, not fire supplies fund, not fire district funds.
Okay.
Because those are like the drugs and the IV bags and, all of that kind of stuff that
EMTs
is like disposable supplies, but it's expensive. It's EMT type stuff. It's people care type stuff that can come out of that EMT fund, and we don't have to keep pulling out of the fire district fund to do that. That's one thing we've already done to accomplish what you're talking about. And we'll look at it more closely as we finalize our proposed budget and how it's organized for the organizational meeting, because it doesn't necessarily have to be salaries, because they give us the monies to go into the EMT fund, but they don't demand, okay, this much is for salaries and this as much is for supplies. We can use it all for supplies if we want.
Okay. One thing I would like going into the budget meeting is all these different accounts,
Yes.
what we can use them for, like the motor vehicle license tax account, the different roads tax account, the gasoline tax, what we could all use that for.
Okay.
Fire district is pretty evident, but then we also got,
Some kind of like concise rules.
yeah, so when we look at stuff like the permissive motor vehicle license tax, what the heck do you use that money for? So it would help us in deciding what we can afford and what our money is going for and out of, if we know what every account we can use it for.
I'm sure there's a concise resource we can find on that.
I'm
and
sure
provide
there
you
is,
guys.
but, I went, every time I get a Mara book, sometimes they have some useful information, and they were hitting on one of these accounts, but not every one of them. And
Well, that's a problem. Yeah, I mean, there's like a Ohio Township manual, and it's like yay thick. But I'll look around to see if, for that exact purpose that you're talking about,
it would help
if there's a
it would help
concise
us a lot, I
chart.
think, if we know what those accounts are earmarked for, so I'd appreciate that.
I'm sure we're not the first people to ask that question, so
Okay.
I'm sure it's out there.
What you're saying, it should be in that manual. I remember that. It tell you what each account you could use it for, the funds.
Right, yeah.
It's probably online too.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll get it.
Anything else for Matt? All right, Rick, zoning.
We had 7 zoning certificates issued last month, one of them for an accessory building, one a driveway extension, one temporary sign, one new residence, 2 decks, and 1 commercial sign. My new secretary's working out fine. Jean's training her, and Jean will be leaving at the end of the month.
Okay.
So everything's working fine at the office.
Good. Coming up to the planning meeting, do you foresee you need any new equipment back there, like a new computer or anything like that? I don't know how old your stuff is.
The computer would be good, but I want to talk to Jean first to see how we're going to handle that.
Okay, but when you come to the planning meeting, if you have stuff that you need back there, it'd be a good time to let us know so we can plan for it.
Okay. Yeah, that's the biggie, is that
Okay.
computer.
Is there any word on that trailer in New Baltimore? That's
I mean, no.
It's still there.
yeah.
From
It's
what
supposed to be out by the first
I
of
have
this
to
last
contact
year.
her and see. It's in her hands, and we can't do anything about it.
All you can do is enforce the zoning.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got, this is,
Lida.
Lida.
I thought she engaged an attorney.
I did too. And she said it was, it was going to take a while, but this has been over a year.
Right.
And so I'll contact her again, see what's going on with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can do because I know I can't go take the trailer away.
No, it's in her lap.
It's on her property, she's gotta deal with it.
And I know she's got the lot up for sale, but it was.
It was. There's
There was a
signs aren't there
sign.
anymore.
So, well, I'll contact her. We'll see what's going on with it.
Okay.
Nothing on any new business or anything. I see that a lot of those are built. Do you know if any of them are getting rented out or anything, or like on New Haven Road?
No, you mean down there at McVeigh? Yeah, I issued the final for the zoning. I know the building department was giving them a final. Whether it's been rented or anybody's in there, I don't know. Other than the complaint I got, which you addressed tonight.
Yeah.
But that's it. And then Denier's moving along, and I know the gas station on the corner, they're working on a retaining wall again, but I don't know. He hasn't come in for the zoning certificate yet. They're still drawing up plans, but to get the zoning certificate, they have to get the information I need from the state, from EPA, and a number of other things, and they're working on that. So
I'm sure
as soon as
there's a
they
lot of
come back,
hurdles.
but I can't issue a zoning certificate, and they know they can't get it until they get this other paperwork completed.
What is that they're building on 128? Is it across maybe from? It's either from Mount Hope or from where Crosby comes in. Maybe where Crosby comes in. There's a big new building across on the east side of 128.
I don't know anything about
Yeah,
that.
I might be thinking of the wrong location.
You talking about those houses that are around the pond?
No, it's not a house.
You're talking about that between 128 and the river, right? That big building?
Yeah.
That real big building, the building right next to, on 128, real close to Crosby. If
It's
you come
it's
out
by
of Crosby,
Crosby. You
the
see it when
building
you
is right across the street.
where Crosby dead ends into 128. It's across the street.
Look like some kind of business building.
Yeah. Isn't it like white and black or something?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Is it?
Behind Brown's and the mulch place.
It's
next
close
to
to
it.
It's next to the mulch place.
Well, there's a
Is
big
it?
house
Is it
at
towards
the end.
Miami Town?
Is that I don't think it's a house, is it?
Not a house, it's a real big
It's a
building.
long like.
Yeah, that's the residence. It's done in stucco and black. That's the only one I saw down there.
It almost done, I think. At least the
It says
outside.
it's a house, so.
It's not a house. It's
Yeah,
a hell of a house.
last time I was down there, I didn't see anything back by the river, just right there around that old dredge pond. They just completed a house, and it's a pretty good-sized ranch.
It's a big house, though.
Maybe it might be a house, son, but sure, it
Well,
doesn't look like it.
way back behind by the river, there's a lake, and there's a shelter there. It's been there for years. But
Yeah.
this
The
is
house.
this behind the mulch place?
Like next to it. It's right up on it's right on 128.
That's a
That's
house.
that's those houses that they built. Gil Rule developed these houses that
Yeah,
around the lake, and they use it as a ski
I'll-
course.
that's a
I'll
big,
check it out.
That's a big ranch.
All right. Well, you,
But they build them up by the road because they got to get them out of the floodplain.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a one-bedroom home.
That's a one-bedroom home?
I
Must
don't
be a
think
lot of
it-
other rooms in there.
I don't think it on the same lot as that lake. I think the lake
Yeah.
is a separate.
I don't know, I'll have to look next time I go through there.
That was
I
a,
looked at those lots years ago,
that
decade
was a
ago.
canoe.
Yeah, there's a canoe place there a
And it
couple
went-
years ago.
It went out of business.
Yeah.
So
All right. Anything else for Rick?
Nope.
Old business, Dennis?
None.
Me, I just had a small thing. I did talk to Tom Lozekamp, and he was informed that Hamilton County's extended that you can have dry well septics until 45. So they put a 20-year extension on it.
2045? Oh, that's huge.
And then the only bad thing about it is if you can't do anything to your house, you'll have to upgrade, which we found out. And I've talked to other people, and that's even adding onto a porch or something, they'll make you upgrade your septic tank.
So basically, everyone's going to be doing construction without permits now.
Yeah, Rick won't
That's
be as
exactly
busy
what that just did.
on the weekend.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's always been that way before they extended this. That's other people have told me that in the past. They've either not done what they wanted to do because we were going to add on to our kitchen and the
About 6-7 years ago, we tied into the city water line in New Baltimore, and we got a permit for that. And they didn't make us do anything
no,
about our
that
dry
you
well.
could, but if you're adding on to your house or something,
Okay.
anything, adding a
Enlarging the
room or
house.
putting a
Construction.
wraparound porch or something,
I got
then
you.
you have to upgrade.
I got you.
But if you don't do anything, you got now till 2045, so we'll all
Yeah,
be dead.
I won't be around.
Or you won't care. Or you won't know what's going on.
That's right.
That's all I got. Chuck?
none.
All right. New business.
None.
Dennis? Nothing. Me, I have nothing. Chuck?
Nothing.
Can I
Other
interrupt you for a
concerns?
minute? I mean, I had one customer up on Mount Hope Road. He wanted to put up a pole barn. I gave him a permit for it, and he come back at me and said Hamilton County wouldn't let him build it. He didn't tell me why, and I didn't understand either. I am assuming that they had a dry well up there.
Well, if
I don't know what
it has
I'm
to be
gonna-
pretty far. You can't put any new buildings anywhere near a septic tank, so maybe it was close to where he was going to put it.
Well, he knew that he had to be
Oh.
so far away, but how? I mean, I can issue a zoning permit not knowing who's got the dry wells,
Right.
and then they come back at me. I'm going to have to reimburse money.
Oh.
Well, that's the way it has to be. That's the way it has to be. I mean,
All I can do is I do have the address list. I'm just going to have to be aware of that, and when somebody comes in, I'll look at it that way. Okay.
Yeah, and just warn them because I know somebody wanted to just add on to a porch on their house, and they told them,
they were being pretty sticky on it, huh?
yeah. That's their way they can get you to do it, I guess. All right, any other concerns?
I have a quick question for maybe Barman. Matthew, did anything ever become of the lady, the person that, took that check and changed it, and I think it was a police report? Is there any news on that?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that in my report, actually. We have not, the bank, the idea was that the bank was investigating it, and I think my perception is what they've done is they put it in a big giant stack of stuff that they don't care about. So I talked to Brian before the meeting. He's going to make a call on that actually tomorrow. And if we don't get some kind of satisfaction before the next meeting, I'm going to suggest the trustees to, that the trustees engage with our attorney to start dealing with Fifth Third. Because, I think that's the only way
To get their attention.
to get them to move.
Yeah.
They probably have one or two people in an office that deal with these things. There was a huge rash of this going on. I mean, the whole greater Cincinnati area was, plagued by this. But we also know that they stopped payment on a check from the same people. And, so problem solved at the outset. And right now, as of right now, we're holding the bag. And basically,
Has the check been cashed by them? Or
the
where
check,
is it?
yeah, the check got
cashed along?
cashed. That's
Yeah.
why it's an issue. They wiped the check, they rewrote the
And then
payee
it did go
and the
through.
amount, and
Yeah.
and it went through.
Okay.
And so basically, you'll see on each one of our bank reconciliations every month,
Yeah.
there's an adjustment on the back accounting for that until the money gets reimbursed. And see, like if it was a credit card or debit card transaction, and this is just for you guys' information, I know we kind of really don't like credit cards here. However, when you have fraudulent purchases with the credit card, it's easy. You tell them, you get reimbursed, and then they go to the person who wrongly cashed it or accepted payment, and they charge them.
Oh.
So you're covered under that kind of protection. Everything has its pluses and minuses, but when you're talking about a check, once it goes through, it's just really difficult to get that money back.
Right.
So just for the record, so everybody knows, that was maybe 3 months ago. We wrote a check out for $24.
And it got cashed for
Got
like 2024.
intercepted out of the mail, and someone washed out who it was written to and the amount and changed it to $2,400 and cashed it, someone in Kentucky. And at the same time, there was some other checks in our police report from that same person, that same thing had been done. So that's what we're trying to
Same
get reconciled.
person.
Part of my thought was, and I'll just share with you, maybe it's helpful, I don't know, but the officer who actually, I guess, wrote the report that, kind of got passed over, I guess, in your division or whatever, Barb, that officer said that as he understood it, he said, yeah, those are my words. I'm the one, that was involved in this. And he said, we are actually investigating it through the police department. And he said, he was going to double check, but he stated that they were doing an internal investigation. So if that helps you to know that maybe it's the bank, and maybe that's what it sounded like to me that day, because he looked over at the report and said, oh yeah, that's what I did. And we've got I'm going to talk to him. We've got some, I don't know what they are, but investigators to look into it. So
Yeah.
you might be able to check that too.
Well, for our purposes as we sit here, so when the officer came and we gave our statement, we gave all of our information. So basically, Brian and I essentially are witnesses potentially for a criminal investigation. But it's the most important thing for township purposes, because it's the township's money, is the decisions that the bank makes on whether they're gonna, make it good. They should have. This shouldn't have gone through. And the problem is there's so much of it that's automated. You can look at the image on that check. I mean, I gave it to the detective. I have the statements. It was in different fonts. I mean, it was close, but what they typed in, it was even in different fonts, and so that's why whoever took the presented check and decided this is good, we're going to pay this, that's the person who did the person who committed the crime is in the wrong. but also, but who holds the bag is always the question. And Mr. Trentz will tell you, when you're in law school and you take payment systems, it's a brutal course, and you go through this whole thing about like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happens. Okay, now who holds the bag? Right now we're holding the bag and we shouldn't be. And that's kind of where we're at.
Right. And the officer had said, I really think that we need to be going to the bank. I think it was a Cleves one as well. There was a couple of banks that person had done this, and he was talking about reviewing the tapes, and they should be able to figure it out and all that sort of thing. And so I just thought it maybe be a two-sided investigation. Of course, the bank is not going to be happy. We're not happy. And if that's out there, I just was curious to know how it was going.
It doesn't hurt when you're dealing with the bank, and you also have a decent criminal investigation going on.
All right, to be continued.
Yep.
Anything else? So we will be having our 2023 special planning organizational meeting on January 2nd at 7 p.m. here. And then our next regular business meeting will be January 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. So adjournment would be at...
Move to adjourn.
I second.
Roll call.
Heis. Or I usually go Hyab first. Hyab?
Yes.
Heis?
Yes.
Lohman?
Yes.
What time you got there, Mr. Chairman?
8:15.